So till now we have discussed about the scientist, then we have discussed the introduction and then the story of science. In this video we will discuss about the scientific methods, then physics and other sciences, and then we will discuss some important terms. After this video we will discuss about the scale and the symmetry in nature. So let's start the part of the chapter that we call the revelation. The terms science and scientist are relatively modern. They were first coined by William Whewell in the early 1820s. Prior to this, the umbrella term natural philosophy was commonly used to describe what we now know as chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, and similar fields. Those who engaged in these studies were referred to as natural philosophers. Science is fundamentally the systematic exploration of the natural world. It revolves around posing questions and seeking answers through logic and reasoning. Essentially, science represents the cumulative knowledge humanity has acquired through systematic observation, experimentation, and the application of critical thinking. Let's discuss the etymology of science. Science comes from scire or scientia, which are Latin words for knowledge or to know. So, science is the knowledge acquired by study. Discovering new things is at the heart of science. We try to question everything, and the three words that describe science are reason, logic, and observation. One more thing is experimental observation is the soul of science. If any theory, however elegant, doesn't support the observations, it is considered wrong, no matter which big celebrity devised it. Now let's try to understand the scientific method. Over the years, some of the intricate minds have developed a simple way of understanding everything. Disintegration, or breaking down complex phenomena into manageable pieces. Instead of grappling with a daunting problem all at once, divide it into smaller digestible parts. For instance, examine the motion of water waves, air currents, and the other elements independently. Delve into the fundamental makeup of sand, rocks, water droplets, and air particles. Separately explore the origins of the vibrant hues adorning the sky, ocean, rocks, and sand. Like the Mandalorian says, this is the way. By adopting this approach, phenomena that once appeared incomprehensible may start to make some sense and reveal unexpected connections, offering a deeper understanding of the world around us. But how to even study such things? For that, we have scientific methodology. Let's break it down. First is observation. This is the starting point of the scientific method. It involves carefully noticing a phenomena, event, or pattern in the natural world. This could be anything from observing how plants grow in different conditions to noticing a consistent behavior in animals. After observation, we do some introspection. While not always explicitly listed in every model of the scientific method, introspection here suggests a phase of reflection and contemplation about the observation. It's about thinking deeply about why something is happening or what might be the underlying cause of it. This internal thought process helps in formulating initial ideas or questions. Next step is statement. Based on the observation and introspection, a statement is formulated. This is often a concise description of the phenomena observed or a question about it. It sets the stage for what needs to be investigated further. Statement needs to be falsifiable. This is a crucial concept, particularly associated with Karl Popper. A hypothesis must be falsifiable, meaning there must be some possible observation or experiment that could prove it wrong. If a hypothesis could not be disproven, it's not considered scientific. So let's understand what is a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a proposed explanation for the observed phenomena. It's an educated guess, a testable prediction that can be supported or refuted by evidence. It is often stated as an if-then statement. Now this hypothesis will give some predictions. These are the expected outcomes if the hypothesis is true. These predictions are what will be tested in the next stage. Now we will do experiment. This is where the predictions are put to the test. An experiment is a controlled procedure designed to gather data that will either support or refute the hypothesis. This involves manipulating variables and observing the results. Now there are two possibilities. One is a negative evidence, another is a positive evidence. If the evidence is negative, if the experiment yields results that contradict the predictions, these are considered negative evidences. This indicates the hypothesis is incorrect. So, the hypothesis is disproven in this case. Now, the evidences can be positive as well. If the experiment's results align with the predictions, we call them positive evidences. This strengthens the hypothesis, providing support for its validity. Now, ultimately, the hypothesis can become a theory. When will it become a theory? When a hypothesis has been repeatedly supported by a large body of positive evidences from various experiments and observations, it can evolve into a theory. A scientific theory is a well substantiated explanation of some aspects of the natural world based on a body of facts that have been repeatedly confirmed through observations and experiments. It's not just a guess, it's a comprehensive and well tested explanation. Now, the implications of a theory can lead to new observations, new questions, and further experiments, bringing the process back to the observation stage, thus forming the continuous cycle of a scientific methodology. So, we will keep on having some observations, then we will formulate some hypotheses, we will test them, and then again we will do some experiments. And if the experiments are positive, it will solidify the theory. But before we move forward, I need to clarify one thing. In scientific inquiry, it's crucial to understand that no theory can ever be deemed 100% certain. Achieving complete certainty would require an infinite number of experiments, a practically impossible feat. Each experiment that aligns with a theory merely boosts our confidence in that theory. The robustness of a theory is gauged by its ability to withstand rigorous testing across a wide range of conditions. Conversely, should even a single experiment yield results that contradict a theory's prediction, it raises question about the theory's accuracy or its scope of applicability. This aspect underscores the non-absolute nature of scientific laws. They are not infallible truths but are subject to revision in light of new evidence. A theory might be widely accepted because it has consistently passed numerous tests, but it only takes one conflicting observation to challenge its validity. Critics sometimes seize upon this aspect to question the validity of scientific findings, as seen in debates surrounding theories like evolution. However, such critiques often stem from a misunderstanding of what a scientific theory entails. A theory in science is a well substantiated explanation derived from a body of evidence collected through repeated experiments and observations. The strength of science lies in its adaptability. Unlike immutable dogma, scientific knowledge evolves with new discoveries, always open to refinement and revision. This openness to change, grounded in empirical evidence, is what makes the scientific method so powerful. It's a process of continual learning and adjustment, reflecting our best understanding of the natural world at any given time. So, how to test the hypothesis by collecting data or evidence? Testing a hypothesis effectively requires meticulous planning and structured approach to collecting and analyzing data. To ensure the validity and reliability of the results, one must adhere to several key principles throughout the experimental process. So here are some of the key principles of experimental process. First is the methodology. It is crucial to choose an appropriate method for data collection. Inaccurate methods can render data useless and potentially mislead the researchers. Selecting a method that aligns with the study's objectives and hypothesis being tested is essential. Second is the repeatability and the reproducibility. To enhance the credibility of the findings, experiments should be designed to produce repeatable and reproducible results. This involves conducting multiple trials and, if possible, using different instruments to gather additional data. A consistent mean value across readings indicates high precision. So, before we move to the third point, let me just clarify the difference between accuracy and precision. Accuracy refers to how close the measurements are to the true value. And second is precision. Precision reflects the consistency of measurements across multiple trials. So let me give you some examples to differentiate them. So for example, let's suppose the true value of some measurement is 2.12 meter, let's suppose. Okay. Now there are two sets of measurements. In the first set of measurement, the values which are measured are 2.15, 2.16 and 2.15. And in the second set of measurement, the values are 2.13, 2.14 and 2.12. So the first one is more precise and the second one is more accurate. Why? Because the second one is more close to the true value. And why the first one is precise? Because in that the results are very close to each other. For example, 2.15, 2.16 and 2.15. So they are very close to each other. So they are more precise. And second one is more accurate because it is more closer to the actual value. Let's discuss the third point. Control variables. Multiple variables may change during the experiment. We need to be extremely careful that only the variables that we are studying needs to change, or we can change them according to our requirement, and that all other variables should remain constant. For example, if you are studying the effect of any food on your digestion, then you need to keep everything else the same as you do every day and only increase or decrease the usage of that food. Another example can be if you want to study the effect of temperature on the rate of chemical reaction, you need to keep other parameters such as the concentration of the reactants or the pressure around the vessel to be same. One more thing we need to tell you is the variable you change is called the independent variable and the variable you measure is called the dependent variable. The variables that you keep the same are called the control variables. The lab is usually a good place for controlling variables. Fourth is the sample size. The bigger the number of data collected, the better it is. The larger the sample size, the more will be the chance of it being correct. For example, if you need to find the effects of a vaccine, then more the number of test subjects, more accurate the results will be. But scientists have to be realistic when choosing how big. So this is another important point. Fifth is the quality of evidence and reproducibility. The most important aspect in science is that there is no authority. It doesn't matter whether you are influential or not. The observations will only be accepted when they are repeatable. If other scientists can't reproduce your results, given they all have the necessary materials, then it will not be accepted. Reproducibility gives the confidence. Sixth point is it should not be agenda driven. Many times, scientific research is funded by certain companies, especially related to the human body, like the effect of certain beauty products or some particular diet, etc. In order to prove that their product is good, they tend to alter the results. This is a really serious problem and must be avoided at all costs. This type of practice is relatively rarer in physics, but it still persists. Let me give you an example. The study that breakfast is a necessary food was heavily promoted based on certain scientific research. But as it turns out, it was funded by the breakfast food companies like cereal companies and oatmeal companies. Looking further, you will find that no robust link has ever been found between the necessity of breakfast and good health. Last is the equipment. You need to use the right equipment for the experiment. The measuring equipment that you use has to be sensitive enough to measure the changes you are looking for. For example, if we need to measure changes of 1 centimeter, we need to use a scale that can measure in 1 centimeter steps. If you use a scale of 10 centimeter steps, it won't be sensitive enough. The smallest change a measuring instrument can detect is called its resolution or its least count. So hopefully you understood the important principles of the experimental process. So let's discuss the branches of natural science. Natural science is divided into two major branches. One is the physical sciences and the second one is the life sciences. In the physical sciences, we have physics, chemistry, geology, oceanography, astronomy or cosmology. There might be other branches as well, but these are the major branches. And then in life sciences, the major branch is the biology. Now if you can see, chemistry can be divided into three major branches: organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry and physical chemistry. Astronomy has various branches as well, like astrophysics, astrobiology, astrochemistry, astrometry, etc. And the major branches of biology are botany, zoology and microbiology. Now if we talk about physics, we can try to classify physics in multiple ways. So one of the ways I'm trying to do it here is based on classical physics and quantum physics. So in classical physics or classical theory, you will have classical mechanics, electromagnetic theory, special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, statistical mechanics, thermodynamics KTG, and wave mechanics. In quantum theory, you can include atomic and molecular physics, nuclear physics, then QFT, which is a quantum field theory. We will elaborate this further. Quantum field theories are quantum electrodynamics, quantum chromodynamics, quantum gravity, and quantum weak theory. And then there is soft matter physics, and then solid state physics and electronics. So these are the major branches of physics. Also, all these branches have some applied part to them. So there is this applied physics. But by the way, nature itself does not distinguish among physics, chemistry, bio and other sciences. These categorizations are human-made constructs designed to simplify our study and comprehension of the natural world. The reality is that these different fields of science are inherently connected, each one informing and supporting the others in our quest to understand the intricate tapestries of the universe. So let's quickly discuss about some of the branches of science. The first is chemistry. Chemistry explores the interaction and transformation of atoms or molecules, leading to the formation of new substances through chemical reactions. Historically, its precursor, alchemy, captivated many with the quest for the philosopher's stone, a mythical substance believed to be able to transform any metal into gold, a pursuit even Isaac Newton dedicated much of his later life into. Understanding the nucleus and radioactivity significantly propelled the evolution from alchemy to modern chemistry. The relation between chemistry and physics is profound, with quantum mechanics laying the foundation for comprehending the entire discipline of chemistry. Essentially, chemistry delves into the intricate details of chemical reactions. The main branches of chemistry are organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, and physical chemistry. Now let's discuss about biology. Biology examines the intricacies of the living organisms, intertwining significantly with organic chemistry. This branch of chemistry got its name from the early belief that compounds found in living beings couldn't be synthesized outside of biological systems. However, it has been proven that the organic molecules can in fact be created in a lab. Furthermore, biology's understanding of life is generally enhanced by developments in physics, particularly in how living organisms transmit information through electrical signals. For instance, the human brain operates through billions of neurons communicating via electrical impulses. Advancements in our understanding of these electrical signals directly contribute to deeper insights into the brain function. Moreover, the precision and quality of biological research and medical diagnostics are substantially improved by technological advancements in physics, as evidenced by the critical roles of MRI, CT scans, ultrasound, and oscilloscopes in healthcare. Historically, biology's initial focus was on treating human diseases and identifying different species. Over time, its scope expanded to include various facets of medical science, evolution, and beyond, illustrating its broad and evolving nature. Next is geology. Geology delves into understanding the Earth's structure, composition, and the natural phenomena it experiences, such as tsunamis or tornadoes. In short, we study how and why Earth is what it is. The discipline heavily relies on physics, from the theoretical framework to the instruments employed in geological research. Physics provides the foundational principles and technologies that enable geologists to study and interpret the Earth's features and processes. Next is the mathematics. Mathematics stands apart from the conventional sciences. It is a discipline focused on the study of abstract entities and structures. It prompts a fascinating inquiry. Is mathematics an inherent aspect of the universe, or is it merely a tool devised by humans? The presence of shapes, sizes, comparisons, and the principles of equality and inequality in everything which is around us suggests that universe might inherently be mathematical. As discussed by Max Tegmark in his book Our Mathematical Universe. Often dubbed the language of physics, mathematics enables the prediction of future events and extrapolations of past occurrences through precise relationships. The integration of mathematics into physics since the 15th century has dramatically accelerated progress in the field, mirroring the speed of light. Our modern lifestyle, with its technological advancements and scientific understanding, is deeply indebted to the mathematics. Now let's see the classification of mathematics. So mathematics can be classified into two major branches: pure mathematics and applied mathematics. In pure mathematics, we have arithmetics, algebra, number theory, geometry, analysis like calculus, real analysis, complex analysis, functional analysis. Then topology, combinatorics, and logic and set theory. Then in applied mathematics, we have probability and statistics, numerical analysis, optimization, mathematical physics, game theory, and computational mathematics. Now before we discuss physics, let's discuss about pseudoscience as well. Pseudoscience is a fake science that pretends to be real science. When you do not have a test for wrongness for a hypothesis, you slide to the realm of pseudoscience. Why is a test of wrongness so important? Because in certain situations, or sometimes even pure luck, some hypothesis may come out to be correct. Will you accept it as correct? In science, if we know that we have a test that may prove the hypothesis wrong, then by performing many experiments, we can increase our confidence in the theory if the results are positive. For example, astrology is a pseudoscience because you do not have a test that may falsify that the motion of planets and stars has some effect on your day-to-day life. The astrologers predict the future by sheer guess, and they try to guess the very common things. They will say that you have gone through a lot of hardships and in the future you will earn a lot of money. I mean, who doesn't think that their life has all sorts of hardships, and who wouldn't want to hear that they will be rich in the future? So it's an example of pseudoscience. Okay, so now let's start physics. Physics is regarded as the most foundational of the scientific disciplines. It delves into the analysis of matter and energy, exploring their interactions, the fundamental elements of matter, and how matter moves and behaves through space and time. The overarching aim of physics is to unveil the underlying principles governing the workings of the universe. Summarized briefly, physics can be described as study of nature. Historically, the domains of physics, chemistry, biology, and certain areas of mathematics were all encompassed by the broader field of natural philosophy, as we already discussed. It wasn't until the scientific revolution in the 17th century that these disciplines are differentiated into distinct fields of natural science we recognize today. In physics, theories or laws are derived through two primary approaches: experimental physics and theoretical physics. In experimental physics, we conduct experiments to observe natural phenomena. From these observations, physicists develop hypotheses to explain the underlying mechanisms. This approach has led to the discovery of empirical laws which are grounded in experimental evidence. Some notable examples include Newton's universal law of gravitation, Coulomb's law of electrostatic, and the laws of thermodynamics. Experimental physicists focus on empirical data to guide their understanding and development of the physical laws. And then there is theoretical physics. It employs mathematical models and abstractions to understand the principles governing the universe. This approach often starts with a mathematical hypothesis or theory derived from the creative insights of physicists, sometimes referred to humorously as mad scientists. Theoretical physicists work to uncover the mathematical framework of physical laws, leading to theories that may initially lack direct empirical evidence but offer profound insights in the nature of the universe. Examples include Einstein's general theory of relativity and string theory. While there is an ongoing debate between experimentalists and theorists regarding the superiority of the respective approaches, both play crucial roles in the advancements of physics and, by extension, humanity. Despite the theoretical learning some may have, it's important to acknowledge that physics at its core is an empirical science. The ultimate validity of any physical law or theory is determined through experimental verification, highlighting the indispensable relationship between theory and experiment in the pursuit of scientific knowledge. Now let's discuss the etymology of physics. Physics comes from physis, physique or physica. These are Greek or Latin words which mean natural or physical things. So physics is the study of nature or physical things. So as I said, there are multiple ways to classify different branches of physics. We have already seen one of those ways. So now let's see another way to classify physics. We can classify physics into three major branches: particle mechanics, wave mechanics, and dual mechanics. In particle mechanics, we have classical mechanics, electrodynamics, relativity, thermodynamics, KTG, and statistical mechanics. In wave mechanics, we have electromagnetic theory, mechanical waves, gravitational waves, and there are other waves as well, like matter waves and nuclear waves. But we will stick to these three for now. Now, in dual mechanics, we have quantum mechanics and theory of everything. In classical mechanics, we have Newtonian mechanics, Lagrangian mechanics, and Hamiltonian mechanics. And in relativity, we have Einsteinian mechanics. Now, if we talk about quantum mechanics, in this we study about atoms, nuclei, radioactivity, chemical bonding, standard model, electronics, etc. And then in theory of everything, we study about string theories, loop quantum gravity, etc. So in this, we will be using this classification: particle mechanics, wave mechanics, and dual mechanics. So as discussed, physics is the study of interaction of matter and energy. According to physics, the universe is made up of two fundamental quantities. One is the energy and another is the matter. Energy is defined as the capacity to do work, and matter is anything which has mass and occupies space or volume. As the matter is made up of atoms and atoms consist of electrons, protons, and neutrons which have charge and mass, therefore matter consists of these four basic quantities. Matter has mass, matter has charge, matter has gluons, and matter has W and Z particles. So when we'll focus on mass, we will be discussing about mechanics, thermodynamics, sound, and quantum mechanics. And then when we'll discuss charge, we will discuss about electromagnetism, optics, and quantum mechanics. And then when we'll discuss gluons and W and Z particles, we will be discussing about quantum mechanics.
By the way, all these properties of matter give rise to a force or interaction. For example, mass gives rise to gravitational force, charge gives rise to electromagnetic force, gluons give rise to strong nuclear force, and W and Z particles give rise to the weak nuclear force. Interestingly, these four fundamental forces, or we can say five forces, were once all unified. So for example, at the moment we have strong force, weak force, electric force, magnetic force, and gravitational force. So in the beginning, all these forces were one. So we have the theories which combine these forces. So for example, we first unified electric and magnetic forces, and this theory is called quantum electrodynamics. Then we combined weak electric and magnetic, all these forces, and this theory is called electroweak theory. Then afterwards, we combined strong, weak electric and magnetic forces, and then this theory was called grand unified theory. Now, we have not been able to unify gravitational force with the other 4 forces or 3 forces. Once we do that, we will have the theory of everything. So, theory of everything involves all the fundamental forces, and this theory will explain everything about the universe.
Now before we end this video, let's discuss few important terms. So let's start. First one is belief. It is based on faith, not evidence. It's what religions are built upon. On the contrary, belief has no importance in science. For example, gravity will act on you whether you believe in it or not, while you will not encounter any ghost if you don't believe in them. Next is statement. Statement is a declarative sentence that can either be proven wrong or right, but not both. For example, God exists. This is not a statement because you cannot disprove it no matter what you do. Now let's see a statement. Plants perform photosynthesis to obtain food. This statement can be proven correct or incorrect using methods we have. Now next is proof. Proof is when you have solid evidence or a strong argument that makes something clear beyond doubt. It's like solving a puzzle by following the rules and using what we already know is true. Proofs help us understand new things based on those rules, making them super important for learning and discovering. For example, let's see some proofs for the theory of evolution by natural selection. One is fossil records. Fossils show a historical record of changes in species over millions of years, illustrating transitions from ancestral forms to modern species. Second proof is genetic evidence. Modern genetic analysis reveals similarities in the DNA of different species that support common ancestry. For example, humans share a significant percentage of their genes with chimpanzees, indicating a common ancestor. Third is observational evidence. Direct observation of evolutionary processes such as the development of antibiotic resistance in bacteria demonstrates natural selection in action. Bacteria that randomly mutate to resist antibiotics survive and reproduce more than those that don't, leading to a population of resistant bacteria. Fourth is embryology. The development of embryos of different species shows the remarkable similarities, suggesting common ancestry. For example, human embryos have gill slits and tails at certain stages, reflecting our evolutionary past. The next term we need to understand is experiment. An experiment is when a scientist tests ideas to see what happens. It's a key step in finding out new things or checking if what we think we know is actually true or not. By carefully setting up tests and observing what happens, experiments help answer big questions and solve mysteries. For example, the electrolysis of water. What is the objective of this experiment? We want to demonstrate the decomposition of water into oxygen and hydrogen gases by electrical current. What is the procedure? We need 2 electrodes which are placed in water containing an electrolyte to improve the conductivity and connected to a source of direct current. When the current is applied, bubbles of gas form at each electrode. Collecting and analyzing the gases show that hydrogen forms at the cathode, which is the negative electrode, and oxygen at the anode, which is the positive electrode. So what is the outcome of this experiment? The experiment demonstrates electrolysis, supporting the theory that water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen in a 2:1 ratio, and illustrating the principles of redox reaction. Next is discovery. Discovery is when you find something for the first time that was always there but hidden. It's like uncovering a treasure that no one knew existed. For example, gravity was present before Newton discovered it. Next is invention. Inventing is all about creating something brand new from your own ideas. It's turning your thoughts into something real that others can see and use. Inventions bring something into the world that wasn't there before, using materials in a new way. For example, light bulbs didn't exist before their invention, so light bulbs were invented. Next, let's discuss few terms specific to mathematics. Axioms or postulates. An axiom is something we accept as true without needing to prove it. It's like starting point in maths or logic that everyone agrees on so we can build more ideas upon it. The term is often used interchangeably with postulate or assumption. Although the later term is sometimes reserved for mathematical applications such as the postulates of Euclidean geometry. The word comes from the ancient Greek word axioma, meaning that which is thought worthy or fit, or that which commends itself as evidence. For example, in Euclidean geometry there are many axioms or Euclid's postulates. Some examples are: a straight line segment can be drawn joining any 2 points. Another example is any straight line segment can be extended indefinitely in a straight line. Theorem. A theorem is a math statement that we have proven to be true. It's like solving a puzzle using rules and what we already know from axioms and other theorems. When we prove a theorem, it's a big deal because it means we have figured out something new and certain about the way numbers or shapes work. Theorem and corollary are words that are used much more in maths than in science. For example, Pythagorean theorem. In a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, the side opposite to the right angle, is equal to the sum of the squares of the lengths of the other two sides. So this is an example of a theorem. Corollary is a special kind of theorem that follows easily from one we have already proven. It's like a bonus fact that we get without needing a lot of extra work. It helps us add more pieces to the big picture of what we understand in maths. Now let's see some terms which are specific to science. So, hypothesis. In simple terms, hypothesis is an educated guess that typically a scientist wants to test and is often a simple prediction. It is reasonable explanation of an observation or experimental result. Hypothesis is a proposed explanation for a phenomena. It is based on limited evidence and is not conclusive. For a hypothesis to be a scientific hypothesis, the scientific method requires that one can test it. Example, increasing the amount of natural light in a classroom will improve students' concentration and enhance their learning efficiency. What can be the test for this? Compare test scores and attention spans of students in classrooms with different lighting conditions over a semester. Next term is theory. In everyday speech, a theory is no different from a hypothesis, a supposition that has not been verified. But in science, it's much more. It's an explanation that ties together lots of observation, experiments, and facts. A theory is a fully formed account of how we believe something happens. A theory is neither a law nor a proof, and it might even be wrong, but it is much more than just an idea. It's been tested many times and explains how parts of the world work. Theories can change as we learn more, which is a strong point of science, showing how our understanding grows and improves. During the past 100 years, for example, the theory of atom has been repeatedly refined as new evidence on atomic behavior has been gathered. Similarly, chemists have refined their view of the way molecules bond together, and biologists have refined the cell theory. The refinement of theories is a strength of science, not its weakness. For example, evolution is a theory, or Einstein theory of general relativity. These are the examples of some theories. They have been tested multiple times successfully. Next is law. A law is a rule about nature that's been proven true many times. It's like a formula that always gives the right answer within its scope, like gravity pulling things together. But even though laws tell us what will happen, they don't explain why. That's where theories come in. Like Einstein's theory of relativity explains the why behind the Newton's law of gravitation. Next is principle. A principle is a basic idea about how something works. It's like the rule that explains what happens in nature. For example, principles can explain how animals evolve, how our cells work, or how engines run. It's not about why things happen, but about how they happen. For example, evolution operates on two main principles: genetic diversity and natural selection. One more example. A car engine operates on the principle of internal combustion. A principle is again not a proof, or an explanation. It's just the straight out description of a process. Now let's discuss the difference between law versus theory. The difference between a law and theory is that a theory can explain why, while a law cannot. Let's take gravity. Law of gravity, which is F equal to g m1 m2 upon r square or g mm upon r square, can predict things. But can anyone tell why it occurs? Why gravity pulls, or is there any explanation? That's where theory comes in. For example, Einstein explained gravitation using his general theory of relativity. It explains the mechanism of gravity described by the law, expanding on the understanding of gravitational forces. Now, what is the difference between law and principle? A principle typically applies to many scientific theories. Scientists nowadays rarely use the term law, except in cases where it's been in use for a long time, because it can suggest more certainty than is warranted. Principle has a more adequate connotation that places it on a footing similar to a postulate. A principle is an experimentally verified assumption that we use to guide how we create new theories. Though it has been verified experimentally, it may still turn out to break down in some circumstances. We can only verify, not prove the laws, and it only takes one disagreement to disprove the law. Typically, science moves from testing hypotheses to theories to establishing a physical law, like E equals mc square. The law has more systematic and fundamental explanatory power than mere theories, which in turn has more explanatory power than mere hypotheses. Not all hypotheses are theories, yet all theories are hypotheses. Moreover, a physical law is a fact of nature, whereas theories and hypotheses are not necessarily established facts until rigorously tested. Next is a fact. A fact is something that everyone agrees is true because it's been seen and proven repeatedly. For example, we can all check and agree on saying the sky is blue when it's clear at noon. Next term is model. A model is a more straightforward way to explain something complex. It's not perfect, but it helps us understand the basics. For example, we know that electrons don't orbit the atomic nuclei like planets orbit the solar system or sun. But this can be a very simple explanation of some things. It is a model. Although it is inaccurate, but it is a model nonetheless. Model helps us learn even if they don't show the whole picture. So to end this video, science thrives on a dynamic process of continual questioning and testing, which nurtures a fertile ground for transformative discoveries. Many significant breakthroughs, particularly in physics, have come from younger scientists, often in their 20s or 30s. This trend likely stems from their openness to new ideas and less attachment to the established norms that tend to solidify with age. Their willingness to challenge, explore, and innovate is crucial to scientific advancement. The readiness to adapt and refine theories with new evidence is a sign of scientific strength, not its weakness. It sets science apart from belief systems like religion, where tradition and authority might impede progress. In science, evidence drives truth, maintaining science as a dynamic, ever-progressing field. Furthermore, a hypothesis is considered scientifically valid if it is falsifiable, meaning it must be testable and potentially disprovable. This principle is a cornerstone of scientific method, emphasizing the importance of skepticism and rigorous testing over mere acceptance of ideas. A hypothesis that cannot be tested does not meet the scientific standard, as it cannot be challenged or revised with new data.